How to do web scraping on OpenRPA. Hello, I'm Marcelo, and on this tutorial we will learn how to create a robot that will scrape data from the web on OpenRPA. So let's get started. The first step to be done by the robot is to open a browser on this website. So to open a browser on certain website, we can use the activity OpenRPA. So let's search for it on the toolbox. And let's use the one from OpenRPA.nm that works with Google Chrome. For this activity, we have to provide the browser and URL so it can work as expected. So we can fill these two parameters easily by using here the Get Current button. We just need to have Google Chrome open on the website so we can see that it's open already. So if we click now on Get Current, we can see that it was indicated automatically the browser to be used and the URL. So let's just store the URL on the variable. So let's create here the variable str website URL. And now let's use the shortcut to create this variable, Control key. So let's see if it was created on the variables panel, and here we can see it. So let's just define the default value of this variable that will be the URL of the website. So let's put it inside double quotes. So it should work already. So it should open the browser on this website that we'll use along this section. So let's just close the browser and see if it's working. So let's click here on play. And as we can see, was open the browser on the website. So now let's see how we can extract, how we can scrape data from each listed book on certain pages. So first, let's find a way for the robot to be able to get each listed book. So then we can extract data from each listed book. So here on the toolbox, let's search for the activity Get Helmet. And let's use the one that works with Google Chrome, the one from OpenRPA.nm. And so we'll use this activity to get the element of each listed book on certain page. So let's see how we can do it. So let's click here on Open Selector, and now let's click on Select. And let's just indicate a random book. So I'll indicate this one. So let's indicate like this. So here we can see the selector. So the selector is basically the GPS for the robot to be able to find the element, the indicated element. So if we click now on highlight, we can see that it's highlighted the book that we've indicated. So now we have to tweak this selector in such a way that the robot is able to detect, to get each listed book on certain page. So for example, let's try something here. Let's replace this 5, for another number, for example 1. And now let's click on highlight. And now we see that the targeted book, the book that we are getting, it's the first one. So let's just try now the third book, this one. So let's replace the number 1, 2, 3. Let's click on highlight. And now we are targeting this book. So for example, we have 20 books for each page. So let's indicate here 20. Let's click on highlight, and now it's being targeted the last book, the book number 20 of this page. So with the selector, as it is, we'll target always a specific book. And that's not what we want. We want to get each listed book on certain page. So let's delete here the article and the number. So let's leave like this, the selector. And now, if we click on highlight, we see basically that is being highlighted here the first book. So let's close this window by clicking on OK, so to save what we have done. And so on the get element activity, we can see here two properties. So the min results and max results. So on min results, we define the minimum results that should be retrieved, that should be got. So in our case, the minimum number of books extracted from certain page. So here it's one. Let's leave as it is. And here, maximum number of results, it's the maximum number of elements extracted, let's say, got from these activities. So actually it's one, so that means that it will only get one element even if there are other elements that could be targeted. So let's replace the 1 to 5, for example. And now let's here save. And now let's click on Open Selector again. And let's click on Highlight. So let's do again. And now we can see that basically 5 books are being targeted. So that means that now here, if we replace the 5 to 20, that it's so the number of books that we have on each page. So let's click on Open Selector again. And now let's click on Highlight. And now we can see that it's being targeted, it's being got each listed book on certain page. So let's click here on Next and try again. And it's working well. So we are getting what we want. So the robot will be able to detect, to get each book from certain page. So now we have what we need to then extract specific data from each listed book. So the name and price. So let's just close this window. So now that the robot is able to get each listed book on certain page, let's develop it to extract the name and price of each book. So here on OpenRPA, let's use another get element activity. And let's drag it inside of the one that we have already on our workflow. And you'll understand why. So let's drag it. And as we already know, this get element is the one that gets each listed book on certain page. So let's just change here the display name to be more clear. So let's add here books. So this is the activity that gets each book listed on certain page. And by having now this get element inside of this one, it will inherit the elements, so the books got by this get element. So let's see how that works. So just before, make sure you have Chrome open on the website, and then click here on Open Selector on the newer get element. And now we can notice here on the left side that were loaded elements from the page. And these elements are inherited from this get element. Just to compare, let's close this window and drag another get element outside. So here, for example, and if we click now on Open Selector, and so here we are getting basically the whole page HTML of the website. So we can see here the head tag that has the title and so on. So the body, then the body are the headers, divs. So we are getting everything that the page has about elements. But on this one, we are basically getting the ones that were got by this get element. And that's what we want. We just want to get so access to details of each book to extract so the name and the price. So let's get started by extracting the book name. So now here, let's click again on the Open Selector. So here on the left side, basically we are getting the elements that are got from this get element. So each listed book. So here we can see the element tag, and then we can drill down to see what's inside of that helmet. So we can see that inside of this helmet that has the light tag, we have an article, and that article has a div, and that the div has an h tag. Then we can see here the paragraph and so on. So for example, if we go to the page and let's inspect it. So to inspect here, for example, on this book, let's do a right click and then click on inspect, and we can see that the light tag, the light helmet, represents a book, and that inside of this tag we have the article we have a div, and so on, exactly what we can see here. So to easily know the element that we have to pick to extract something, so for example to extract the book title, let's do a right click here on the book title. Let's click on inspect, and here we can see the element that has the book title. So we can see that it's inside of the article on the H3 element, and so then we have to go to this A element that has the A tag. So here on OpenRPA, let's do the same. So let's open here the article, then we have the H3 element that has H3 tag, and then we have here this element that we can see here. So let's pick it. So to pick the element, let's do now a right click and click on select element, and now we just have to click on OK, and it's that. So now here let's just change the display name of the get element to get element book name, or just name, for example. And now let's see what we are getting from this element. So let's use an assign to store the value. So let's use assign. So let's store it on a variable, and let's create a variable str book title. And now let's use a shortcut to create a variable. And now let's just go here to the variables panel, and here we can see it. So now we have to assign the value for this variable. So to get the value from the element, let's add here item dot value, and now let's use a right line. So let's use a right line after this get element. So let's drag it to here inside of the main get element, the one that gets the books. And now let's call here the variable that we have created, str book title. And let's see the output that we'll get. So basically this get element activity will be executed for each book that is got from this get element. And so basically for each book we'll extract the book title, and we'll see something here from this right line. So I'll just close the browser and let's run our robot. So it already handled this execution. So let's open the output panel, and here we can see the title of each book. So we can notice that basically we have here each book title of each book. So just by instance, here we can see the last book title that was logged on the logs, and we can see that it's basically the last book of the first page. But one thing that we can notice is that on some books doesn't appear the whole title, and we can see the why. So here we can see that the books that have a bigger title appears here with the 3 dots, and it doesn't appear the whole title, and it's basically what we are getting here. So how we can get the whole book title? So if we inspect again book. So for example, the one that has basically the title shortened, so this one. So let's do here a right click and click on inspect. We can see here the title shortened, but we can see also that there is an attribute on this element that has the whole book title, and that is the attribute title. So if we indicate that we want to get the value from this attribute, that is from the element that we have already indicated to get the book title, we can get the whole title. How we can do it? So here on OpenRPA, instead of saying here that we want to get the value of this item, let's remove here the value and let's add the dot attributes. And now we have to tell the attribute name from which we want to get its value. So in our case, the attribute is attribute title. So to indicate, let's open parentheses, and then inside of the parentheses, let's open double quotes. And inside of the double quotes, let's indicate the attribute name, its title. And then let's add in the end a dot to string to convert the value to string. So let's run again our robot. So let's just clean here the output and let's just run our robot. So let's run it. And now if we open the output panel, we can see that this time we are getting the whole book title, even from the ones that appears here, the titles shortened. So now it's working as we want. So now let's extract the book price, and that will be my challenge for you to try to do this step by yourself first. So to try to extract the book price. So now I'll give you 5 seconds so you can pause this lecture and try, and then we'll do this step together. So to extract the book price, we'll use the same method. So let's here inspect the price element of the first book, for example. So let's do a right click and click on inspect. And so what we can see here, it's that the element that has the book price, it's this paragraph that it's inside of a div, and the div that it's inside of an article, and below this h3 element. So here on OpenRPA, we'll use another get element activity inside also of this get element that has the books, and let's just here rename to get element price. And now let's click here on open selector, and so first we have to open the article, and here we can see that then it's a div below the h3 element. So here we can see it, so let's open. And now we can see here that it's so the first paragraph of this div. So here we can see it. So let's select this element. So to select it, let's do a right click and click on select element. And now let's click here on OK. And let's use assign activity to store the value on a variable. And so let's create the variable str book price, and let's use our shortcut to create a variable. Let's just check if it was created, and here we can see it. So now let's assign the value to the variable. So let's take the item, the element, then dot value to assign the value that this element stores to our variable. So now let's just see if it works well. So let's use a right line activity after the one that shows the book title, and let's call here the variable that stores the book price. So let's see if it's working well. So let's just run our robot. Let's open the output panel, and here we can see that for each book we have here extracted the book price. So here we can see that it has worked as expected. So let's learn now how we can do the books extraction across multiple pages. So one thing that we can notice is that on each page below we have the button next, and this button allows to navigate to the next page. So we can use it to do the navigation and so do the extraction across multiple pages. So now here on OpenRPA, let's get started by using the do while activity. So here on the toolbox, let's search for do while. And so this activity allows us to create a loop while a condition that we have to define remains true. So we'll understand in practice how this works, will be easier. So let's drag this activity to our workflow. So inside of this activity, we have to place what we want to execute. So in our case, will be the books extraction and navigation to the next page. And then we have to define a condition. And while the condition remains true, will be executed again what we have here inside of the activity. And then the robot will check again a condition. And if it's true, will be executed again what we have. And then when the condition becomes false, will be broken the loop and the robot will execute the following activities. So the condition that we'll define will be very simple. So we'll limit the number of pages extracted by the robot. So basically, we'll create a condition that while the number of pages extracted is less or equal to 3, we want so to do the extraction navigation to the next page. If it becomes more than 3 pages, so we'll break the loop and then the books extraction and navigation to the next page. So how we can do it? So let's get started by creating a variable that will store basically the number of pages extracted. So here on variables, let's create a new variable and let's define the name int number pages extracted, and it will be a variable of type integer, so it will store a number, and so the default value of this variable will be 1. And why? Because we know that the first page will be the page number 1, and then when navigate to the next page, the second one, we will increase the value of this variable to 2 and so on. So let's define the default value as 1 and let's increase the scope of this variable to be accessible on the whole workflow. So here let's define our conditions. So while the number of pages extracted is less or equal to 3, we want to execute what we have inside of the do while activity. And what we want to execute, basically the extraction of each book. So we want to extract the title and the price. So let's drag this block of activities inside of the do while. And so one thing that we have to do is to add a navigation in the end of the execution of these activities. So after doing the extraction, let's add here a get element activity. And so now we'll indicate the next button. So here, let's click on open selector. Let's click on select. And now let's indicate here the button. It's indicated. Let's click on OK. And now let's add here the activity click element to be done a click on the button. And so after we do the extraction and navigation, we have to increase the value of our variable. If we don't increase it, we'll stay always on the loop because the variable will have always the same value, that is the default one, that it's 1, and so we stay on the infinite loop. So let's here use assign activity to define so a new value for the variable after the extraction and navigation. And so after we navigate to the next page, let's increase so the value of our variable to its value plus 1. So by this way, for example, on the first loop will be on the first page, and so the variable will have the value 1, but after we do the navigation to the second page, it will have so the value 2, and it will be on the second page. So let's see how it's working. So let's close the browser and run our robot. So we can see that was done the navigation to the second page, and we can see that was extracted the books from the first and second page. But we can also notice that we got an exception while the robot tried to click on the next button when it was on the second page to navigate to the third one. So basically the robot was not able to find the helmet, as we can see here, the button. So let's see what happened. So let's just compare the button of the first page to the one of the second page, the one that was not located, to see if there is some difference. So let's just drag here to get helmet activities, just to compare easily. So let's try to get helmet activities. And so on the first one, we'll indicate the button of the first page. So let's do it. And let's click on OK. And now that we are on the second page, let's indicate the button of the second page. And now let's just compare our selectors. So I'll open the notepad. And so here we have the selector of the first page button. And now let's copy of the second one. And so we can see here a really small difference. So here we can see that it's basically the same, but here on this tag we have the index 2 and here 3, and it's what it's making the robot to not locate the second button. So let's just do another comparison. So let's check on the third page. So here we have it. So let's indicate the button of this third page. Let's compare. Let's paste on the notepad. And so we can notice that basically it seems that the first page has the next button different, and then it's the same on the other pages. So how we can handle this case where the first page has the next button with a different selector comparing to the other ones. So it's really simple. What we can do basically here inside of the loop, we can add an if activity to check if we are on the first page, and now we know if you are on the first page. Basically we call here our variable int number pages before increase its value, and we will check if its value is equal to 1, and if it is, it means that we are on the first page, and if we are on the first page we will execute this get element that has the selector that works with the button of the first page. And if we are not on the first page, we'll execute the selector, the get element that has the selector that works on the second and following pages. And that's it. It's really simple. So here let's just change here the if display name to if we are on the first page. So it becomes more clear like this. And here on the get element, I'll have next button. So basically, if we are on the first page, if you click on the button by using this selector that works on the first page. If we aren't on the first page, we'll use this one that works on the second, third, and following pages. So let's just not forget here to add the click. So let's add the click element. And now let's run our robot. So let's click here on play. And now we can see that was done the navigation until the page number 4. So when we are on the page number 4, we do here the condition, and because the value of our variable is greater than 3, here the condition becomes false and the loop is broken, and so in our case the robot ends its execution. And here on the output we can see so the extraction, and we can notice that was done the extraction of each book that was found by the robot until the page number 4. If you want to learn more about OpenRPA, I have a course on Udemy that teaches OpenRPA from scratch. So we get started by understanding what's RPA, and then we'll learn how to install OpenRPA on our computer. Then we learn the basics like snippets, variables, arguments, and so on. And then we'll develop robots from scratch in different scenarios. So if you want to know more details about the course, you can find on the description of this tutorial the link to the page of this course so you can see the details and the course curriculum. Also, if you like this tutorial, please give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel and enable notifications bell so you'll get notified on each tutorial that I launch here on the channel.